So let's just begin. The window should be here. The chat should be there. Okay, no, hold on. We're doing the tea party for episode 4 now. After Aaron chorused us into not beginning it earlier. The second day, October 5th, 1986. This is the right one, correct? Yeah, it is. So the clock jumps ahead 24 hours. Simon and I at first were like, what, 2 days? And then we remembered that's not how clocks work. 24 hours. I don't have a clue what's going on. Oh, the game is us now. We are the game. Because we don't have a clue what's going on. Also, I need to... almost forgot to activate my pickle webcam that likes to fall off all the time. And... their text is gone too. Okay. I don't have a clue what's going on. Please, someone explain in a way even I can understand. Yeah, my sentiments exactly what happened yesterday. I was in the kitchen of the mansion, grabbing some food without permission. Huh? If you open up that massive business class refrigerator, you can find anything. You can eat and drink as much as you like. Even if the typhoon didn't clear up for a week, I had more than enough to eat. With wine in one hand, I was helping myself to some dry cured ham. He's drinking wine now. I mean, why not? I wonder just how expensive this wine and ham are. You ingredients are out of luck too. If only you'd had Goda-san to cook you, you could have been reborn as much more incredible food. I looked at the clock. Very soon it would be midnight. October 5th, the second day would end. The insane October 4th, yesterday, seemed like a lie. That's how much nothing had happened after that test thing. Nothing happened. No phone call came, and no letters came. No person came, and no one attacked me. Nothing happened at all. I want to start demanding a refund on all the time and energy that tension stole from me. Because after that, for an entire day, a full 24 hours, nothing happened. So surely nothing's gonna happen now. A full 24 hours ago, Beatrice called me to the spot in front of the mansion's entrance. There I was given a strange test to determine the successor to the headship or whatever. I gave a serious answer in my own way, but it somehow hadn't meshed with the other side. Beatrice got pissed for no reason and fell silent. I yelled at her to try and say something, but she gave no answer. When I asked where Maria was, she just told me to go to the chapel and left. To tell the truth, it was an anticlimax. No matter what kind of weird test you give, at least tell me whether I passed or failed. Are you trying to say, thanks for coming, your results will be mailed to you later or something? Quit messing with me. Anyway, I then headed to the chapel. After failing their tests, both George Aniki and Jessica were killed. I couldn't let Maria get killed too. Also, I might get a chance to catch some person trying to kill her. As a little kid, I often heard from Jessica that you'd get in trouble if you went near the chapel, so I had never been there, but I at least knew where it was. I couldn't find any trace of a person there, but there was a key bundle lying in front of the door. I thought this might be someone telling me to open the door, but after trying all the keys, I found that none of them fit. I also called Maria's name, but there was no answer whatsoever. I searched around the chapel, but there was a limit to what I could do in the pitch black with just a flashlight. I realized that this key bundle might be a set of master keys, which could make it possible to open the door to the mansion. I found no sign of Maria, so I returned to the mansion. The mansion was wrapped in silence, and in a horrible stench. However, it's amazing how good humans are at adapting. The inside of the mansion must still be wrapped up in that smell. However, I grew completely used to it and stopped minding it. It didn't seem any worse than any old house where someone had burned some meat. Ugh. At first I was bewildered by the stench, but I decided to head to the dining hall for the time being. And found those corpses that were so pitiful Goda-san and the rest had hesitated to speak of them in detail. Now we're finally getting them, all at once. Natsuhi, her corpse was found in the dining hall. About half of her head was destroyed. It's probably reasonable to assume that she was murdered with a powerful gun or something similar. However, the witnesses don't believe she was killed with a gun. Okay, that's actually the same text. His corpse was found here all in heaven. I think it's also the same, just she was replaced with he. Yeah. George, his corpse was found in the rose garden arbor. There was a single hole right in the center of his forehead. It's probably reasonable to assume he was shot with a gun or something similar. It's a brand of humiliation mocking his defeat to Garb. Oh, I think we found this one we already had. His corpse is the same as him, and that's the same as her. Okay, and that's the same as him. So it's all saying the same thing. It was the remains of Natsuhi and the other who would become the first victims. Hold on. Here we can actually see where they got hit. I guess half of the head, half of the head. Yeah, it's all half of the head, right? Just as Beatrice had said. Half of each head had been completely split open. Oh, I should have just clicked once again. And it was so gruesome that even without knowing a thing about examining corpses, I could say that they were 100% dead. And on top of that, the remaining halves of their faces were left like normal, so it was even easy to identify them. Really convenient corpses these were. And in addition to those 6 bodies, was one more. The 7th corpse was... Oh no, Maria. Her corpse was found in the dining hall. Batla wasn't able to make out any wounds in particular, so he assumed that she was killed by some kind of poison, the most peaceful form of invitation to the Golden Land. She lay next to Aunt Rosa, as though sleeping alongside her. I cried at the death of an innocent young girl, and at the cruel way my dad and the rest had died. I raced through the mansion, swinging the hat-stand spear, yelling, "Come out here, bastard!" But I couldn't find any trace of anyone else. Thinking they might be planning to hide somewhere and attack me from behind, I went around searching for hiding places, sometimes growing more cautious, and sometimes intentionally letting my guard down in various ways, but in the end, not even a kitten appeared. Then, morning came. My tension and fatigue, combined with my drowsiness, making for the worst kind of dawn. Humans are pretty incredible. Even when a murderer might be hiding somewhere, we prioritize drowsiness and fatigue over our own lives. By that time I was starting to feel pretty ridiculous. After all, for a full 6 hours before dawn, I had walked around the mansion yelling at the culprits to show themselves. My search had been a careful one, and I had tired myself out and let my guard down. Even so, no one came to attack me. Basically, I lost patience with them and figured they could do whatever the hell they wanted. The boat won't come until the typhoon passes. They said on TV that it won't pass until tomorrow, so I've got another full day today. I just realized something here. Like, Beatrice kept saying that the island was cut off from the human world, and that's why the phones don't work anymore and all that, but the TV still seems to be fine. So I guess they are not cut off from the human world after all. Lazing about lost its interest. And even though I knew it would probably make the police mad, I decided to play detective a bit. First was the dining hall, where the very first murder had occurred. The 6 who had been killed in the beginning really were pitiful. Maybe there's just really good TV reception in the demon world. That's gotta be it. What was the dining hall with the very first murder occurred? 6 who had been killed in the beginning really were pitiful. The weapon used was probably a gun. Maybe their heads were split by something powerful like a magnum bullet or a shotgun. It was a reasonable theory to hold. Compared to that, the 7th corpse, Maria, had died in a much better and cleaner way. At a glance, I could see no external wounds and didn't understand how she'd been killed, but by her mouth were traces of bubbles that she might have spat out, and it looked like a typical death by poisoning that you might see in a TV drama. Wasn't Maria called out of the chapel and given a test? So why was she in the corpse-filled dining hall, lying next to her mother, dead? Even if the cause of death was poison, who gave it to her? Her clothes weren't disturbed at all. It's hard to imagine that she was forcibly pushed down and given an injection of poison. It's probably better to assume that she was given a capsule of poison or something and made to swallow it. But compared to the scattered and violently mutilated corpses in this room, Maria's corpse was too clean. If they had a gun, they only needed to pull the trigger, but poisoning, whether by having her drink it or by an injection, would take a lot more effort. Considering the corpse's brutal nature, you'd think Maria's death alone was given special treatment. Why was only Maria given a sleep-like death? True, being killed is always a pitiful thing, but for some reason Maria's death alone seemed very courteous to me. Courteous. Both of Maria's hands were joined on her chest, as though the dead person had put them there herself. Did Maria do that herself before dying? Isn't this usually something done by someone else after the person dies? As though sleeping with her mother, whose head was half crushed, Maria dozed in peace. For some reason, that contrast really bugged me. Including the direct cause, it's probably safe to say that Maria's death is shrouded in mystery. And more than anything else, the biggest mystery of this dining hall was the pitfalls. The pitfalls that both Uncle Klaus's group and Goda-san's had mentioned. After the first 6 were killed, 5 more fell through pitfalls and were captured. What are pitfalls? Those things that suddenly open and you fall through them, right? The room had a solid floor with a carpet that looked dignified, if a bit worn out. No matter how you looked at it, it was a single piece. If a pitfall had opened up, there would have to be a seam just in that place. And if there had been some trick like a pitfall, wouldn't it creak when you walked on it? No matter how much I walked around, feeling the carpet, I just couldn't imagine that a pitfall was hidden here. Anyway, it'd be one thing if a single person failed, but a full 5 people did. By putting together everyone's stories, each one of them had fallen from a different location, so at the very least there had to be 5 separate places with pitfalls. So what does this mean? Was this room actually made with pitfalls across the entire floor? So by pushing a button you could open up a pitfall in the location of your choice, some kind of contraption like that? That kind of ridiculous mechanism would be surprising even in a ninja mansion. But if Dad and the rest had heard about this, I wonder if they had said I wouldn't put it past Grandfather to do it, to make it. At any rate, I didn't learn anything more from the dining hall. Do the pitfalls not exist? Or do they exist but I just can't find them, amateur that I am? I can't say for sure. Since they claim that the pitfalls were there, I can't ignore them even if I can't find them. The next ones to be killed were Jessica and George Aniki. I had discovered George Aniki when I had been called out for my test. He had been called out to the arbor in the rose garden and probably shot in the forehead with a gun. Jessica had been called to her own room on the 2nd floor of the mansion. The door to her room was locked, but that wasn't a problem at all since I had a master key. Inside the room, it was horrible, but after the dining hall I was used to corpses, so I had built up a bit of an immunity. The phone receiver was loose and dangling. Had she been killed while she was still on the phone with me? Jessica was leaning against the wall right next to it, with half of her head split open. As far as I could tell by glancing at the scene, it looked as though she had been killed while on the phone. Her corpse was found in her room on the 2nd floor of the mansion. About half of her head was destroyed. It's probably reasonable to assume that she was murdered with a powerful gun or something similar. She was smashed by her own attack, due to George's counter-offensive specialized barrier. Yeah, but was she really? In that case, had the culprit been right there before our eyes? I hadn't gotten that impression when listening to Jessica's voice over the phone. I'm pretty sure Jessica said they got me. It's probably best to assume that she had already received a fatal wound at the time of the phone call. That's right, and she also said this: "When you come, Valor, I'll be a corpse with half of its head split open." Yes, that's what she said. From what I could tell by looking at Jessica's corpse, there were no wounds on her other than the damage to her head. Could she have had an injury serious enough to make her prepared for death and then died halfway through the phone call? But the way she had talked on the phone made me think that she had escaped harm for the time being. You shouldn't be able to have a casual conversation over a phone if the culprit's right before your eyes. So did the culprit come in partway through the phone call and kill Jessica? No, that can't be right. After all, this room was locked. Wait, that doesn't tell me anything. If the culprit stole the master key from one of the victims, locking the door would be meaningless. But she had no external wounds other than her head. In that case, should I assume that the fatal wound she was prepared to die from and the actual external wound that damaged her head were two different things, and that both of them were made to the same part of her body? In other words, Jessica was struck severely to the head and received an incredibly bad wound. Then she called me and either lost consciousness or died while on the phone. Then the culprit came and damaged her head again, something like that. Maybe she just shot herself. for whatever reason, I don't know, and for whatever reason why would she even not say that on the phone? But I mean, that is the option she chose. She chose, when she was given the test, she chose to take her own life. So maybe she did that. But what would be the reason for her not just outright saying that, but instead saying that she will be dead soon, and I don't know, making it sound like somebody else would do it? Did she make it sound like that? I don't even remember her exact conversation. Let me quickly get the tea bags out of my tea, by the way. Okay. And have a sip. A sip, I mean. So after being called to this room, Jessica was attacked by the culprit and received a serious injury. Then the culprit thought she'd been killed and went away for the time being. But Jessica miraculously started breathing again and called me with what would become her dying message. Then the culprit realized that they had failed to kill her and rushed back to deliver the final blow after Jessica fell unconscious from massive blood loss. But that doesn't really... I mean, if that was the case, wouldn't she have mentioned on the phone who killed her? That seems to add up, more or less. Maybe the test actually told her to, if she chooses option 1, to, not tell anybody of what exactly happens. So she would take her own life, but not let Battler know that that's what she's doing. And if she doesn't comply, then everybody gets murdered. I don't know. That could be a reason why she would say what she said on the phone and then just shot herself in the head. But then where would the gun be? The gun is not there. But yeah, Battler's current theory is that the culprit realized they had failed to kill her, rushed back, and deliver the final blow after she fell unconscious. It seems to add up more or less, except for how Jessica was able to accurately predict the nature of that final blow. And there was one more thing that bugged me about the phone call from Jessica. Jessica had said this: "George Nissan is done for too. That was an instant death." She said it almost as though she had witnessed George Aniki being killed, but while you certainly could see the rose garden from the window in Jessica's room, and you could even see the roof of the arbor where George Aniki had been summoned, it was very far away. Add on to the fact that it was the night of a typhoon, and it's very hard to imagine that she was able to witness everything that happened by the arbor from this window. Which would be a shame because it was incredibly cool. And more than anything else, Jessica left before George Aniki, so she shouldn't have known that George Aniki's test took place by the arbor. Why did Jessica know that George Aniki had been killed? Also, oh yeah, this song again, I love it. Also, during my search of the entire mansion, I found Kiryu-san's corpse as well. It was in one of the old guest rooms at the back of the first floor. In the past, before the construction of the guest house, the relatives had spent the night in these. Kiryu-san's situation matched Jessica's perfectly. She had probably been killed during her phone call with me. The receiver was hanging untidily, and Kiryu-san lay crumpled in that corner, but the way she had been killed was very different from Jessica. Her head wasn't smashed. Instead, a stake with an occult design was buried into her forehead. Her corpse was found in a guest room deep within the mansion. There was a single hole right in the center of her forehead. It's probably reasonable to assume she was shot with a gun or something similar. A demon stake was buried in the hole in her forehead, but it's hard to imagine that this was the cause of death. I missed on purpose to tease her, yeah? Oh, did you? Also, I just kind of feel like saving whenever I'm here. It was so gruesome, so I pulled it out. Ugh. After pulling it, I realized that this might get me into trouble with the police later, so a little too late I set it down by Kiryu-san's side. Its tip was sharp and stained with enough blood that it must have penetrated fully to the brain. I didn't know what kind of metal it was made of, but it was about as heavy as a paperweight. Certainly if you were stabbed all out with something like this, it might cause a terrible wound. I probably knew what that stake meant. It's one of those. The style of killing from the fourth twilight onwards in the witch's epitaph. It's probably that gouge with a stake and kill thing. However, a human skull is very firm. Do we have the epitaph? We still don't have it. We don't have anything here. No matter how much someone mustered their strength, could it really have been pierced so neatly? No. By my reasoning, the stake wasn't the cause of death, but had just been used to damage the corpse after death. She was probably killed with a gun or something, like George Aniki, and the stake had been stuck into the hole left by the gun. Thinking of it that way makes it easier to accept. But was Kiryu-san really killed with a gun? As she said on the phone, even though she was holed up inside a locked room, Kiryu-san was being attacked. In fact, this room had been locked. Also, she mentioned a golden thread or something flying in and attacking her. Sorry. In fact, there were 4 places around Kiryu-san's corpse with holes that could have been caused by some kind of attack. But a golden thread attacked her through the keyhole? I looked at the door from Kiryu-san's perspective. If it had been one of those old keyholes you see in old mystery movies where you can peek through to the other side, then it would have clearly been possible to stick something through it. But even though the doors in this mansion were old-fashioned, the locks were the familiar average cylinder style that you could find in any normal house. In other words, they weren't constructed in a way that would let you penetrate through them. So no matter how thin an object you might try to stick through the hole, it's unthinkable that something penetrated through from the outside and attacked. A cylinder lock. And a keyhole? But despite that, Kiryu-san definitely said that something like a golden thread had flown in through the keyhole, spun around while aiming for her and attacked her. A golden thread attacking through a keyhole. I couldn't understand what it meant at all. But even so, Kiryu-san probably predicted that I wouldn't be able to understand all this. And it wasn't just Kiryu-san. Jessica said it over the phone too. No, since the very beginning, from the time we talked with Jugoda-san and Kumasawa-san and got the phone call from Uncle Klaus's group, everyone has said the same consistent thing. Grandfather summoned witches and demons and is killing people with magic. They had been shown that right before their eyes. These weren't tricks or fakes. There was no choice but to believe it. With one voice, they had all said that. When the mystery woman calling herself Beatrice appeared, even I had pretty much believed that she was a real witch and might start summoning goat monsters right and left. However, after being left alone for a whole day, my feeling of tension had faded completely. I was now able to think that something so stupid definitely couldn't be true. Did they lose their heads a little in an extraordinary situation where the lives were exposed to danger and mistakenly think that a witch was attacking them with magic? But multiple people gave the same kind of testimony, and on top of that, none of their opinions conflicted each other. If it had just been a single statement, I'd be able to suspect that they just didn't see what they thought they saw. But doing that now is pretty difficult. Then, right next to the back door, I found Uncle Klaus with his head half smashed. Even though he had escaped the dungeon of Kuwadorian and somehow made it this far by a secret underground passage, he had been killed. Buried into the gruesome cross-section of his half-crushed head was a stake with an occult design like the one that had been buried into Kiryu-san's forehead. His corpse was found in a guest room deep within the mansion. About half of his head was destroyed. It's probably reasonable to assume that he was murdered with a powerful gun or something similar. A demon stake was buried into the damaged area. No one can escape from the Cheester's golden arrows. But wasn't he killed outside? Or like very close to outside? I think he and Kiryu actually got inside and then he was murdered immediately. Might be wrong about the order at this point, but I think Shannon and Kanon got sniped at the fountain, at the well. Nanjo as well, I think. And I might be wrong on this, but if I remember correctly, then Klaus and Kiryu made it to the house, and Klaus got murdered just on the way into the house. In that case, somebody must have brought him to the guest, because it says in the guest room deep within the mansion. So somebody must have moved his body, right? I mean, getting murdered right on the doorstep does not sound deep in the mansion to me. That sounds like pretty much the opposite of deep in the mansion, if you ask me. And in this situation, it was very hard to imagine that this stake was the weapon used. He had been killed with a powerful gun like the 6 in the dining hall, and after death had been jabbed with a stake like Kiryu-san. I wonder if the golden threads that Kiryu-san spoke of attacked Uncle Klaus too. Does there exist some kind of tool, like an endoscope, that's very thin but can be moved about at will, and that can also attack people? No way, I've never heard of anything like that. But even so, if this fact had been revealed to one of the relatives, maybe they'd say I wouldn't put it past grandfather to make it, since I can't deny the existence of golden thread X that can be moved at will and attack people. I can either accept that this mysterious weapon exists, or else I'll have to accept that this was a murder committed with magic. Also, the webcam is, sorry for the webcam, like, having so many tremors today. It seems to not stand very firm, so the slightest move I make is making it tremble. Yeah, the webcam is scared. Poor webcam. Oh, clicked on the wrong window. Okay. To find the next corpse, I had to go out through the back door and search around outside a bit. So these corpses were not moved, I suppose? Behind the mansion, in the wild-grown bushes that were almost swallowed up by the forest, there was something like an old well. And right next to it were Dr. Nanjo and Shannon Chan's corpses. Both corpses had their heads smashed, and though they weren't stuck in, there were stakes lying right next to each damaged head. Huh? Why are the stakes lying next to them? That is odd to me. Webcam, stop trembling. I thought they needed to be inside the stakes. Like, the stakes needed to be inside, I mean. Hold on, I'll try if I can get it to a better position. I guess that works. Each corpse was atrocious, but having to look directly at Shannon Chan's lovely face, which had been half blown away, was very painful. Then there was the well. I heard that inside it was a secret underground passage to the mysterious mansion aRdW. Okay, nothing more about the corpses, I guess. I was trying to not read them immediately, because I might read something that the text would tell me as well, and I don't want to spoil myself, if you can call that spoiling yourself, but you know what I mean. The corpse was found behind the mansion. About half of her head was destroyed. It's probably reasonable to assume that she was murdered with a powerful gun or something similar. A demon stake had fallen near the body. The witnesses at least realized that the stake wasn't what killed her. The witnesses realized. Okay. Yeah, I mean, they saw the golden thread, which is still weird. But does that mean whoever killed them had not enough time to put the stake where it was supposed to go? But then why would the ceremony even be completed? Also, why is Beatrice there? No, wait, we had this already. The epitaph only said that she would revive on the 9th twilight. But yeah, if you ask me, the fact that the stakes are not inside the body kind of sounds like it wasn't completely done the right way. Then again, it says they should just need to be gouged and killed. I guess that doesn't necessarily mean that the stake has to stay inside. I don't know. By this time, I began to think that Beatrice and her accomplices might have used this underground passage and left for aRdW. Even though there had apparently been at least 10 of them, I hadn't seen a trace of anyone. It seemed very likely that they had already escaped to a different location. There's the typhoon. They can't go out to sea. It goes the same for the forest. There's no way they could traverse such a deep, uncultivated forest on foot. In that case, they had only one place to go, the mysterious hidden mansion aRdW. Through the secret underground passage at the bottom of the well. By this time I had entirely lost my fear of being killed if I happened to come across the enemy. Don't fuck with me. This time I'll storm into your mansion. What the hell? Damn it. The old well had a firm cover on it. The cover was an iron grill. The gaps between the bars were perhaps 20 centimeters across. You could peer inside, but it really wasn't something a human could pass through. If I had known better, I wouldn't have thought it anything more than a simple cover to prevent falls, but from what Kiryu-sama told me, I knew that its purpose was to prevent intruders from entering the secret underground passage in its depth. But the cover was extremely firm and rigid, and no matter how much I pushed or pulled, I couldn't even get close to opening it. I couldn't find any obvious lock. It might be sealed by some mechanism. Yeah, and maybe the mechanism is inside. But no matter how much I investigated it, I couldn't find anything to release it. The biggest piece of information Kiryu-sama tried to give me, gambling her final moments, was the underground passage in this well. Don't think I'll be stopped by something like this cover. I'll smash it to bits and search for a tool. I had an idea. After all, I had seen the various tools in the gardening shed when we had locked Goda-san and Kumasawa-san in there. But the shutter to the gardening shed was locked. On top of that, the key was with Goda-san, who was dead on the inside. In other words, this gardening shed was a closed room. It just made it sound like Goda-san was just really sad. Goda-san, he's dead on the inside. He doesn't have any hope anymore for the rest of... whatever. In other words, this gardening shed was a closed room. There's no way to open it from the outside. In that case, I've got to break the shutter. There has to be a tool for that somewhere. Kind of feels like I'm going in circles here. Yeah, you're trying to find a tool so you can open something to try and find a tool. Then, while searching for that, I learned that the source of the stench that had permeated the mansion this whole time was the underground boiler room. Oh, he's in there again. The boiler room was dimly lit, humid, smelled horrible, and on top of all that was incredibly creepy. But there were several large tools there, and I managed to find a fire axe and some massive wire cutters. And grandfather's corpse. His body was found as a burnt corpse in the underground boiler room's incinerator. No evidence of a struggle was found inside the incinerator, so it's probably reasonable to assume that he was burned after his murder. Dust to dust, ashes to ashes, the dead to the dead. Now, strictly speaking, I should probably say that I found a burnt corpse of a person who was probably grandfather. Someone's corpse had been stuffed into the blazing fires of the boiler. However, by coincidence, I was able to notice the number of toes in the corpse. Both feet had 6 toes. That's right, I think I heard it from Dad some time long ago, something about grandfather having polydactyly with extra toes. According to old Ushidomiya family tradition, it seems that those with extra fingers or toes had some kind of good fortune and were treated as a good omen. And because of that, grandfather was selected to be the successor or something. But I wonder if I can be certain this is grandfather's body just from the number of toes. After all, grandfather was supposed to be the leader of the group of culprits. I didn't have a clue why he'd get stuffed into a boiler in a place like this and die. A mysterious corpse burning and spitting out a terrible stench amid the flames. If it really was grandfather, did that mean the leader of the group of culprits wasn't grandfather, but that Beatrice after all? Grandfather was used because it was convenient and was then thrown away. Unfortunately, it didn't look like I'd be given a chance to hear grandfather's side of the story. Now that I had obtained a tool, I thought about rushing to take on the cover to the well, but I decided to break the shutter to the gardening shed first. I had plenty of time to kill anyway. I figured I should check on the condition of Goda-san's and Kumasawa-san's corpses. I mean, you're already on a corpse spree here. I hit the shutter with the axe, breaking into it, stuck the wire cutter into the crack, and scissored it around, opening up a hole. Then I faced Goda-san and Kumasawa-san's corpses once more. Where are you? There. So I guess they didn't get updated before when he found them because he didn't, really, go to them and confirm that they're really dead. Although it should have been obvious from hanging from the ceiling. But, still could have been puppets, really well-made puppets or something, so I guess it makes sense that it only gets marked now that he actually goes in there. Servant Goda, his corpse was found in the Rose Garden storehouse. It's assumed that he was hung by the neck after being shot in the forehead. What the fuck? Also, it kind of looks like he has glasses on here. Because of the blood splatter together with the wrinkle below his eye and the eyebrows makes it look like he has a monocle, however you pronounce that. It suits him. Anyway, they put ropes around their own necks. That can be a pretty interesting experience now and then. Her corpse was found in the Rose Garden storehouse. It's assumed that she was hung by the neck after being shot in the forehead. As long as I could construct a closed-room murder, nothing else mattered. Yeah, you really seem to love that. As a result, I learned a new fact. First, they had not died by being hung by the neck. Damn, I read the wrong order. Both of their feet were solidly on the floor, and on both of their foreheads were signs that they had been shot with a gun. The loop seemed longer than a normal noose. On top of that, the length was different on each to match the height of each person. In other words, the length had been adjusted so that both Goda-san, who was tall, and Kumasawa-san, who was short, had their feet solidly but barely on the ground. Also, while the ropes carried both of their weights as their heads lolled, both of them had some slack below their knees. This meant that if they had stood up with these loops around their necks, there would have been some extra length. In other words, these loops wouldn't have been that great for hanging people. The direct cause of death was probably a shot to the head. It was gruesome. Their insides were still dripping out from those gaping holes, staining their faces a deep red. It's probably best to assume that they were then hung, pulled up, and left exposed like that. If they had been shot with a gun, they would probably have been lying down on the floor. If that had been the case, you wouldn't have been able to tell they were dead even if you peeked through the window. The mountain of stuff would have gotten in the way, so if they had been lying down, they would have been hidden. To make the death of these two known to the rest of us who couldn't go inside, they would have had to hang them like this, making it visible from the outside. Was this done to get back at us for thinking that those two would surely be safe if we left the key with them? I wonder where the shutter key we gave Goda-san, which should have ensured their safety, is now. That key was in the pocket of his trousers. The gardening shed key had been kindly left there, and even the plate was attached. In other words, the gardening shed had been a closed room after all. And that gave rise to another question, because this can't be explained by a hanging. If they didn't commit suicide, then those nooses were set up by the culprit. It might have been possible to shoot them through the window, but it's really unthinkable that someone could have tied 2 loops to the beam from the outside. And furthermore, there's no way they could have lifted up the heavy corpses. In other words, to do all of this, they would have had to go inside. Well, it could be somebody who persuaded them to open up, then go inside, shoot them, do all the stuff, then connect some kind of wire to one of the pockets, and the other end of the wire goes out the window, and then you let the key slide down the wire into the pocket, and then pull on the wire so you take the wire with you. Could work. It's not impossible. I could see it. Being done like that. But the key was in Goda-san's pocket, and the shutter had been locked. In other words, the gardening shed had been in a closed room. No, I just solved it. In my opinion. Goda-san had said that there was only one key to the shutter, but is it possible that there was a copy and that the culprit was in possession of it? If we're allowed to theorize that there actually was a duplicate of the gardening storehouse key and that Goda-san just didn't know about it, then this isn't even close to a closed room. But why is it that despite the fact that almost all of the other corpses were shot to death and left almost completely alone, just these 2 corpses were intentionally hoisted up? I couldn't help but feel something a bit odd about that. After this, if we assume that the mystery corpse in the boiler was grandfather's, the death of 16 people have been confirmed. There were 18 people on this island. I'm here and there are 16 corpses. Kanon-kun's corpse is the only one I haven't been able to confirm. Huh. True. I should have noticed that already when he was searching the well, but Kanon was killed there as well, if I remember correctly, so where the hell is his corpse? According to Kiryu-san, he had been killed while climbing out of the well, there you have it, and had fallen down into it. Ah, I see. So we probably haven't found him yet because we haven't been able to enter. So with the well closed up like this, it's impossible to check. I tried shining a flashlight through the bars down into the darkness in the depth of the well, but it seemed that the jet-black darkness had no intention of showing me its depth with a light of that level. It looked like I'd have to break the bars after all. Using the axes and things I dragged from the boiler room in the gardening shed, I tried breaking the cover of the well. But the metal bars were extraordinarily sturdy, and breaking them wasn't easy. I hit them with the axe over and over until my hands started feeling weird and eventually gave up on breaking them. It's impossible. If they were at least wood, I might have been able to break them, but this metal... That's right, there's no way you can slice through metal bars like butter with a human string. I can't even begin to understand that story about how Kanon-kun cut through metal bars. I heard that a light like a red laser beam grew out of his arm, and that he sliced through the metal bars like he was cutting through butter. Cutting through metal bars like butter? What's with the red laser beam? Does that mean he secretly had a burner on him or something, and he used that to burn through the bars? Still, just what kind of laser could cut through metal bars like butter? It almost sounded like the kind of laser beam you'd find in those robot anime I loved as a kid, doesn't it? Does something like that actually exist? And how did Kanon-kun get that laser beam? No matter how much I want to ask him, he's already been killed. Plus, even his corpse is now in the depth of the well, beyond this cover. If Kanon-kun could slice through metal bars, I'm sure he could handle this metal cover in a single swing. It feels just like the closed room Goda-san was locked in while holding the key. Only one person can open the door, but they're locked inside. If only I had that power of Kanon-kun's, I'd be able to do something about this cover myself. Just who is Kanon-kun? He could really be a non-human being capable of using a strange power, right? Kiryu-san told me to believe in witches, and I'd even met an insane woman calling herself one. Could Kanon-kun possibly be a human on the witch's side? Or else the culprit? What the heck? Am I gonna start treating him like the culprit just because I can't find his corpse? We know somebody else who did that. Huh. Treating him like the culprit because there's no corpse? And who was the one babbling about the suspicious being innocent? Very well, I couldn't bear having you push all the crimes on Kanon and building a human culprit theory that way. I will guarantee it with the red. Kanon is dead. Among the 5 people in Kiryu's group, he was the first to die. In short, he was the 9th victim. Thanks, Beatrice. Since there's no corpse, I can't say for sure that Kanon-kun is dead. So my whispering in red does not reach the PCU, but it did reach you, right? At a glance, this was a mass murder due to something strange that could only be thought of as magic. Golden threads that detect through keyholes. No, we even have testimony that something gold flew around the dining hall when the first 6 died. The 2 might have been the same weapon. Then there was the close-room murder of the garden shed, and the laser beam that could cut metal bars. And that wasn't all. It was much, much more, like the group of goat monsters, the story of a witch who could create pitfalls just by snapping your fingers, the rabbit-like demons who had fired golden threads. I think there was more, but each part was all screwed up. I couldn't possibly accept it and was forced to suspect that it was some kind of trick or mistake. But why in the world had everyone spoken with one voice, saying the same thing without contradictions in their testimony? It's not only the magic. There's Maria's mysterious death. Why Jessica knew that George Aniki had been killed. The mysterious burnt corpse that I couldn't confirm really belonged to that damn geezer. And more, and more, and more. All stuff I don't get. I tilted the wine bottle up and gulped. I don't have a clue what's going on. After dinner last night, the kids were chased out and told to go back to the guest house. And then there was a massacre in the dining hall. Curious and the rest were dropped through pitfalls and captured. Then Jessica and George Aniki were called out to take a test or whatever and killed. Even though Curious-san's group was able to escape the dungeon somehow, all of them got killed in the end. And at the very, very end, even Maria was killed, leaving me all alone. In short, I did nothing except stay locked up in the guest house. During that time, a huge incident occurred and ended. What can I call it except incomprehensible? I don't have a clue anymore. No, I'm nothing but a drunk. You plan on leaving only me alive? Show yourself right away and come to kill me already. It's too much of a pain, so I won't search for you. You show me your true form yourself. I won't run or hide, so come at me with arrows or bullets or whatever. I haven't gotten any sleep since yesterday, so I'm incredibly sleepy. You want to kill me? Go ahead. I decided to return to the guest house and boldly rest in the bed. When I exited the kitchen and passed through the lobby, isn't it almost midnight again? That portrait of the witch came into view. The big clock did too. It was almost exactly midnight. Yeah, see? Uh-oh. Then the sound of the bell rang out, proclaiming that midnight had arrived. As I listened, I looked up at Beatrice's portrait. Exactly 24 hours ago, I met you. What were you trying to say, and where did you go? Just who in the world are you? Golden Witch Beatrice, I haven't solved a single one of the riddles surrounding you. Show yourself, and fight me. Then, the witch showed herself. Like a guest of honor finally appearing, she showed herself on the landing at the top of the big staircase. So you finally show yourself. I've been kept bored for a whole day. Correct. I gave you a whole day. Was that enough for you to fully exercise the rights of the human side? Yeah, I was bored after all. I did a heck of a lot of it. Angie was a good piece. Don't you speak Angie's name. She appeared through a miracle, sacrificed herself and gave you the tenacity required for certain victory. Don't you speak Angie's name. That brutal death was something you needed. If you hadn't seen that death, you wouldn't have grown serious. Without the wake-up call of Angie's ill-fated future, your tenacity for victory would not have been born. I told you not to speak of Angie's name. In short, she was a necessary sacrifice. Otherwise, an anger great enough to kill me would not have been born in you. The rivalry between us cannot be destroyed. Damn you, Lady Bairncastle, it's more fitting to call that a trump card than a piece. No matter how much a piece acts, it does not stray from the board. But no matter how much power a trump card wields, it is always thrown away after it's used. Angie was truly a good trump card for you. Don't you speak Angie's name. At Bettler's angry roar, Beato finally stopped talking. You know, I don't have time to play around in a place like this anymore. Even a tie will keep Angie waiting. So I'll break through you, take my family, and go back home. I won't waste a second playing with witch games with you. In that case, what should you do? You know, don't you? Yeah, I'll beat you down. I'll blast away all witches, magic, illusions, and delusions. Come on, let's get started. I won't let you trick me again. Resume the game, okay? I'll tear apart the witch's veil, concealing the outright lie you are. You talk too much. All you have to do is honestly say I'll kill you. Yeah, if those are the words you want, I'll say them. This is the first and last wish of yours that I'll lend an ear to. I thank you. I'll show you. Very well. Let us begin, battler. Yes, the time for the witch hunt has come. Try and chase me, try and corner me, try and kill me. I expect a lot from you. Try and show me what your little sister gave you in her last moments. Bring it on! Bella's cry burned the world with a white light. And if you open your eyes amidst the darkness, the two of them could be seen in a rose garden.